Hello, guys. Welcome back to 7th grade Latin online. I hope you had a good weekend. All right, let's get into our fifth to last week of the year, I guess. Let's see. We're going to finish checking the Thetis Peleus reading that we were translating last week. And then I'll have you guys do a few lectiones today, and you'll do a couple lectiones on Wednesday. We will check said lectiones in a video on Wednesday, and then Friday we'll do a vocabulary and translation quiz for chapter 18 and get notes on 19. We'll slow down a good bit after this. You might be thinking this quiz is happening quickly after the last one, which I will have graded by this week, I promise. Uh, but after this quiz on this Friday, we'll go at least 2 weeks before our next one, our next translation quiz at least. So these are the vocab words you're going to need to know. I'll pick 10 of them on Friday for you to translate, and then I'll pick one of these lectiones, which is a homework today and for Wednesday, and that's what you'll translate. So it'll just be one translation. So yeah, since it's a hybrid quiz, it'll be, I won't try to be too difficult with the translations. All right, so you guys are going to do these today. At the end of this video, I will color code these sentences if you want to get a little bit of help in terms of parsing the words. But if you want to do it on hard mode, you can just do it without looking at the last slide of this video. Also, this is tentative, meaning it's not set in stone yet, but we should do a open invitation Zoom session this week, I think, and I think Thursday would be a good time to do that. I'm not restricted by time, but I know other teachers sometimes have set uh, like scheduled Zoom sessions. So I'll look into that. I might throw a poll up on the forum today so you guys can tell me what time would work best, but I need to check with other teachers as well. But anyway, maybe sometime around noon on Thursday, we can have a second go at those lectiones where you guys can actually ask me about them. It'll be optional, you don't have to come. But it's important that you guys are staying on top of this because starting around chapter 19, like next chapter, the difficulty is going to get cranked up a decent bit. We're going to get a new type of verb. We're going to start looking at the fourth principal part of verbs for the first time, and that'll involve some really hearty understanding on y'all's part. So anyway, we'll look into this, and you can always schedule one with me individually. You can always let me know if you want to do something on Tuesday or Thursday, even Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sometimes that would probably be fine too. But yeah, that's easy to do. All right, so this is where we left off. By the way, sorry my Roman numerals are off, but as I explained in Friday's video, messing with the Roman numerals, like the way they're auto formatted, is truly crazy. So at least in the English, it's correct. But we had select because like gite could be read, but the context is telling us it's probably gonna be select or choose. So pick out imperatively the types genera danorum, the types of gifts which will be praised by all who will see them. So we have two relative clauses there, but they weren't too difficult to translate. All right. So now we have the rest of this for today. Tu sola odea discordia non vocaris nam a nullo amaris. If you guys are familiar with the story, the context probably started to help out by the time you got to this part. If you're not clear, this is a wedding invitation. This whole story is a wedding invitation that Zeus is sending out to gods and presumably some mortals, but mostly gods, to gather people for the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, who are the parents of Achilles, right? And then he starts mouthing off towards poor Eris here, the goddess of discord. So Discordia is her Latin name, or Eris is her Greek name, or you can just call her Discord. Not the website, but yeah. So as usual, I will show you the color coded versions of these before actually translating it. So it looks like we have an orange vocative. Vocaris is passive. Okay, right. That's one of our passive endings, which we're gonna review those in just a second. And then annulo is it looks like an ablative, and if amaris is also passive, so we have two passive verbs. Remember, probably even a little more than half the time that we have passive verbs, we will also have an ablative means or an ablative of agent, and that is the thing that is actually doing the verbing. Since with passive verbs, the subject is being verbed, sometimes by an ablative. Okay, so I'm going to move ahead here. So you alone, O goddess discord, are not called. So that's how we're going to translate non-vocaris. Are not verbed. For you are loved, So that's how we translate Amaris. Passively again, are verbed by no one. So Jupiter's or Zeus is being really mean here. But yeah, Anulo there was our ablative of agent. That is the agent by which Discord is loved, as in not liked by anybody. All right, so remember, guys, the big takeaway for this chapter is the way to translate these passive verbs. So if you're still having trouble with that, or if you're kind of fundamentally not really understanding what passive even really means, which I wouldn't blame you, that is a reason to maybe sit in on a tutoring session or schedule one on your own. The tricky thing about this potentially is the way we're translating them. So you might understand what the words active and passive actually mean when we're talking about them in a non-grammatical sense, like, oh, you're actively doing something. You're out and you're riding your bike or you're playing baseball or whatever. You're active. Whereas if you're passive, maybe you're relaxing on the couch. You're hanging out. Things are happening to you, right? You're watching TV, but it's a passive experience because you're not actively doing anything to watch it. But those definitions do kind of carry over to what they actually mean grammatically. Up till now, before this chapter, all our verbs were something the subject was doing. The subject was verbing. Subject is verbing. Subject will verb. Now, with these passive verbs, the subject is verbed. But depending on the person and the number, the helping verb that we're using, whether it's am, are, or is, or was, or were, or will, is gonna change. So that might be the trickiest thing. But that goes back to when we first talked about how sum esse, to be is weird in English and Latin. So this first ending, where it's just ending in r, it's kind of like an or in most cases. That'll be I am verbed. Second, ris. Still ending in s for second person, but it's ris, so that's you are verbed. Third, tour, that's going to show up a lot. That might be the most common one. It is verbed, or he or she is verbed. And then are for all the plural ones. Mer, we are verbed. It's similar to mus, right? Many is super weird. It sticks out a lot. It's the only one without an r at the end. That's y'all are verbed. And then in tour is they are verbed. And then yeah, we also have future imperfect. So let me add those in real quick. So future is the most consistent to translate. That's always just going to be will be verbed. Whether it's I will be verbed, you will be verbed, it will be verbed. And those endings include bore for first person singular, so it's bor instead of just or. Barris for second, that's the weird one because this e shows up. But then for the next three, it's bi, bitor, bimor, bimini, and then buntor, as in the bunt cake that they will eat. And imperfect's not bad. It's going to be was or were verbed, depending on the person. As in, I was verbed, you were verbed, it was verbed, and then were for all the plural ones. And that's going to end in bar, baris, bator, and bontor, bomor, bomini, etc. That ba is consistent for all the imperfect endings. All right, so that's just a little stopover to make sure that we're checking in with the actual grammar of this chapter. It shows up here in the last word, move bitor. So everything up till that point is pretty easy, but move bitor, it's not only passive, it is future passive. That bi makes it future passive, right? Going back to this real quick. It's a bi plus the second person singular ending of ris. So that's future passive. We have a condition here, si venies, which just means like if you verb, that's active. Then omnis deus, movebitur, and Olympo ira. So let's see, what did we get for this? I'm going to move on ahead. So if you come, Venies is technically future, but that would sound a little clunky in English, if you will come. So it's just if you come, that's a condition. Remember, guys, conditions, it's an if-then construction. The protasis is the fancy Greek word for the condition, the if part. The apodosis is the fancy Greek word for the result, the result of if this condition is met. And it's often going to be in the future tense, but you often will not translate the condition with the future tense, right? I think y'all kind of know that. Every god in Olympus, omnis deus, every god. Or, yeah, you can't use all there because then you'd have to make deus plural, and it's technically singular, even though it's like indicating plurality. It's kind of weird. So every god in Olympus will, because movebitor's future, be verbed, be moved. I think they might gloss this as arouse, but moved is fine. Moved by anger. So Olympo and Ira are ablative, but they're separate ablatives. Olympo initially is just ablative of place where, whereas Ira is our ablative of. Is it ablative of means or ablative of agent? And basically the answer to that is it's if it's is anger a thing? If it was capital I, knowing the Greco-Roman mythology, maybe this would be the personified version of anger. It'd be ablative of agent. But then it would need an ah or ob. So it's just habit of a means. Just moved by anger. Habit of a means. Okay. What is this? Our second to last one, I think. Not too much going on here. Inter amicos discordia non debet tolerare. The only interesting thing here maybe is discordia is going from it's not capitalized discordia. So this is just like the idea of discord or disagreement. And we're not technically talking about the goddess, but obviously it's related to that. So we have an accusative object. Inter takes an accusative object, and that's about it. Other than that, the only thing going on is that tolerare is a passive infinitive. So remember, debeo deberi, we've always known that takes an infinitive, but now we need to get used to it potentially taking passive infinitives. So it's like should, be verbed or should not be verbed. All right, so between friends or among friends, discord or disagreement should not be tolerated or ought not to be tolerated. So yeah, that's how we're taking a passive infinitive with debeo. Not too tricky, right? Pretty straightforward. Good discordia is the subject there. All right, poina dabantur ab eo deo qui suum officium negleget. Valete. All right, one thing I definitely want to say about this is that remember when dodare takes poinos, I might have brought this up last week, but that means to pay a penalty. That is not to give punishments. It's a very different thing than paying a penalty, which is how you're going to take poinos when it's the object of dodare. It's technically the subject here, but dabantur is passive, so the verbing is happening to the punishments. All right, and then we have ab eo deo, which is an ablative of agent or means, depending on if it's a person and if there's an ob there, which looks like there is. And then we have a quick little relative clause at the end starting with qui, and sum officium looks like it'll be the direct object of that. So I'm going to move on with this. So penalties will be paid. That's poina dabantur. Will, because dabuntur, bunt cake, future tense. Be verbed, because tur, it's passive. Okay, so penalties or punishments will be paid by that god, ab eo deo. What god? Oh, the god that we'll describe in a relative clause. The god who neglects their own duty, suum officium, who neglects their own duty. Their own duty is direct object, accusative, and then it's farewell. So, yeah, the whole thing is a wedding invitation where Jupiter is telling the gods what to do. They have to bring good gifts. They shouldn't be showing off too much and kind of like reveling in their godly powers, or Peleus will feel insecure, I guess. And what else? He says, don't come, goddess of discord. Eris is not allowed. Don't come. And of course, we know how that ends up. So that'll be a reading for chapter 19, which is kind of fun. They're doing a linear sequence here of the lead up to the Trojan War before we get into some really cool readings from Virgil and Cicero. So that's exciting. All right, guys, I'm going to have you translate the first 3 today, and you'll translate number 4 and 5 on Wednesday. Or maybe you'll just do 2 today. I haven't decided yet, but I will in just a second. Good luck with them. This is the color-coded version of them. If you want to get notes, that could potentially help a lot. I mean, when I'm color-coding them like this, I guess I'm giving away a lot of information, but you still have to actually put everything together yourself, and the vocab is still something you need to be looking up. But yeah, so let's see. Anything number 4, that quote. I'm just gonna tell y'all now. That is gonna be a because. It's because. It's not a which or that or who quote. It's just because quote. Anything else? No, not too much. These aren't too bad, but the passive verb is going to show up in almost all of them, except I guess number 2 doesn't have a passive verb. But at the end of number 1 and 3, we have passive verbs. Was or were read, was or were moved. And we have a passive infinitive in number 4, and a passive verb in number 5. All right, good luck with these guys. Be sure to reach out if you want tutoring, and I will see you all on Wednesday.